I'm Don Wilkinson, born in 1939, middle one of three boys.
I'm Steve Wilkinson. I was born in 1941 and I'm the third of the boys. My grandfather bought the Gosnells property around 1904. He had a small two-room cottage built on the property, and then in 1912 the house as it stands today was completed. My favourite task was the irrigation process.
In the summer, when the irrigation was taken on, the pipes were laid out down the centre of the rows and they were connected to each other. And when they needed to go to the next row, they were all disconnected and then individually carried across to the next row and coupled up at the same time.
We used to flood irrigation. This wasn't very often, but it was one of my favourite jobs because you got to play in real time with the water, and you'd open the pipes up and dig a trench with a hoe down the centre of the rows. And as you came to each tree, you would divert the water around the tree, and all the time you've got your feet in nice cold water and you're virtually playing all the time. It was great fun.
One of my favourite jobs around the orchard was making fruit cases. The ones that Dad used to pack the fruit into to go to market. As far as packing and picking the fruit and bringing it in, we used to have the fruit picked into boxes, loaded onto vehicles such as this, and brought up to the packing shed where they were unloaded into the fruit grader. We would stencil and nail the lids on the cases.
Our name on the end of the boxes, V. Wilkinson and Company, and also what the fruit was. Either it was lemons, oranges, navels, Valencias. The picking of fruit in the wintertime was one of the harder tasks that we had to do. From about the age of 14 upwards, we would start picking the fruit from the winter crop. Entailed hand picking lemons, put them into a 3 bushel 55 kilo bag.
In our recreational time, being lucky enough to have the river, natural bush, open paddocks, we were probably a bit of a magnet to some of our local friends who came from town.
One of our pastimes was having lemon fights. Usually had with the people from across the river, Gosnells versus Maddington. They were very spontaneous. There was really no rules. Apart from a self-imposed rule, we picked fruit off the ground. Our dad would get most upset if he found that we were picking good fruit off the trees.
The river was a huge part of our life. For the orchard itself, it was the lifeblood.
My earliest memories of learning to swim down here was when I was probably about 4 or 5. And my father brought the 3 of us boys down to the river, and I still remember how clear the river was at that time. There was actually yellow sand in the bottom of the river, something that you'd never see today. We used to go marining down the river here. This was in the days before you needed a licence, and we'd usually used drop nets into the river, which had a piece of meat attached to the bottom, or else we'd suspend a piece of meat on a string, and then you'd drop that into the water and use a scoop net to come up behind the marine as they went for the meat.
We spent many hours canoeing on the river. My dad had taught us how to mate a canoe, in the first place. Then we decided to make our own. So we'd get an old sheet of corrugated iron, roll it flat with the roller we had made for the cricket pitch, and we would mark out the canoe on the corrugated iron, roll the edges with wire in it so that it was not sharp at the edge, then form it up and solder them so they didn't leak. We even decided to put a rudder on.
We always knew when to come home.
Boys!
Mum would summons us home by blowing a scout whistle.
And we'll be thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow.